I'm Tatum Skipper, and welcome to Real Florida Magazine.
Whenever I would tell my friends at home about what was happening, everybody would just go, I've never heard of that. What a neat idea.
And you think about it, that's a long time ago.
That's a long time ago.
I said, I'm going to tell some of these queens, they weren't, half of them weren't even born when they started the first homecoming.
Well,
really.
And you were the first in 1949.
That's right.
So,
I mean, it was just getting off the ground. Philip Roundtree was fresh from Tallahassee, and so he was gung-ho for the sports department in Chipley High School, and so he thought, why not homecoming? Because FSU makes a big deal about homecoming. Well, I was already telling Paul, our first home was really primitive, because they were practicing getting it.
Well, you were having to invent the wheel.
Absolutely, honey. Did she tell you how she contacted everybody? We went up to the school, went through all the yearbooks back to 1949, and got the names of the queens, and then she got on the internet and found everybody else. It's unbelievable.
Well, you think about it, it's like, why hasn't this ever been done before? And this is the first that I've even heard.
Well, I couldn't figure that out either.
Well, again, and talking with some of my friends about it, they said, well, we remember who the homecoming queen was in our class.
Yeah.
And, there are a lot of things you forget. You might forget this person was that or this person was that, but everybody remembered who their homecoming queen was.
But never did anything about it. One of the queens that Kim contacted said, well, you're only queen for a day, and then everybody forgets you.
Yeah.
I said, oh, no, they don't need to be forgotten.
No. Well, it's just a super, super deal. One of our friends is the publisher of the newspaper in our hometown, or our town now, and he's all about, he said, be sure you get pictures, and he wrote the newspaper here, and said, be sure and get one with your friend who was the first homecoming queen. So,
oh my goodness!
So it'll spread even in a little South Georgia. We'll have some fame.
This is just too good to be true. It really is.
When I think about you, the things that I think about is Spanish Trail Playhouse.
Absolutely. I started to say, Tom, Dick, and Harry, Harry, Dick, and Tom. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah, yes.
Roger remembers that one. He said, oh, is that Harry, Dick, and Tom? Tom, Dick, and Harry? I said, yeah, that's Martha.
Yeah, Kiss Me, Kate.
Oh, yeah.
We did all those.
Have you been down to the high school?
No.
Oh, Martha, go. It's in the old high school building. You won't believe it. They have elevated the seats. The stage is enormous.
Is it?
You remember we had wings about this.
Oh, yeah.
Hoop skirts coming through those wings and all that. I went down to the new high school, the renovated high school, and I walked on the stage. And behind all of that, there was a grand piano over there, and it was lost. That's how big the stage is.
Oh, my goodness.
This is backstage. And now they're doing wonderful things with Spanish Trail Playhouse. Well, we had a lot of fun, and I said Ann Johnson could get blood out of a turnip anyway.
Oh, Ann Jensen. Ann Jensen.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, they were going to name that auditorium after Ann Johnson.
Really?
If they didn't, they talked about it at one time, because she decided that Chipley could have a... And, I tell people that, and this is a little old bitty town, for crying out loud, but they did wonderful things. Kiss Me Kate was one of them.
Yeah.
And the Mikado was another.
We did Pirates of Penzance in high school, and
it was just great.
Lots of good stuff on a little tiny stage. So.
Oh, I'm telling you, I don't know how they did it. I really don't. Rudge could help tell you, because he and Alan Potter were in charge of scenery most of the time.
The first time I ever remember going on that stage, I think I was in kindergarten at Miss Ruby Stevenson's kindergarten.
Oh, yeah.
And there was some kind of little, I think it was a Kiwanis talent show or something. Somehow my dad obviously put me in it, and I started singing. My song was, I want to wake up in the morning where the orange blossoms grow. That little song about Florida, and I got second place. I won second place in that. I don't know, but
the very idea.
But I think it just having a little 5-year-old up there singing, got me a lot of points.
Oh
so,
yeah.
But that was the first time I remember being on that stage, and our class has not been real great about having reunions. We had
mine is just terrific.
They are. See, ours
yeah.
has not, and next year's our 50th, so we're going to try to get it together for that.
I was just thinking, you were talking about reunions. My class has had one 10, 20, 30. And then we decided we better have them every 5 years now. We're not getting any younger. So we did that, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. We're going to have our 65th coming up.
Wow.
And 2015. God, that was a mouthful.
That was a lot. Well, how many are still left? That's a bad way to put it.
About half of them. In fact, I was telling Paul earlier, our class gets together now twice a year because they're starting to die off,
Oh.
And so we decided, well, once a year is not good enough, so we'll just have it twice a year. Oh. So we do that in October and April.
That's great.
And we had, I think they said they had 10 or 12 the last in October. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, we keep up with my friends that were my really close friends, coming by the First Baptist Church. I mean, these memories flood back. Of course, it's not the First Baptist Church now, but it was the old First Baptist Church. I remember playing the organ as a 16-year-old at night for the Sunday night service. And after one of those services, play the offertory, the pastor's wife came up to me and said, "Martha, do you realize what you played for the offertory?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, that was Ave Maria." And she said, "That's a Catholic song."
You say you moved from a small town and to a small town, which was certainly good. Have you ever lived in a larger city?
We lived in Gainesville, Florida for 30 years. So while that wasn't Jacksonville, but it was bigger than Chipley. So yeah, I did have the experience of living there, which I love too, because I'm a Gator, so, loved that. But, talking about just good manners and respect, I think that was part of small town life, again, because you were so visible. But it's kind of disheartening to see these days that people don't still teach their children, or they think it's archaic if you teach your children to say yes ma'am and no ma'am. But that was a huge mark of respect and please and thank you, and it was just all a part of being raised right. And but I know what you mean. It does seem like that a lot of civility's just gone out the window. I used to think that it was people from the north that didn't pick that up, but that's not true anymore. I mean, people who were born and bred in the South still, have lost some of that. And my other hot button issue is people that throw trash out of the window on the road. We lived back in the day of the litter bug. I mean, there was a whole propaganda campaign about
Absolutely.
that, and it stuck. I mean, people in my generation can't anymore throw anything out of the window I mean, well, you just don't do that. And
You remember the commercial of the Indian with the tear running down his face?
yes,
Because somebody had
yes.
just thrown a bag out the window.
Oh, I mean, that's just, but to me, that's all part of pride and respect. And
Well, now we have groups adopt sections of highway to clean them up, where we shouldn't have the problem to begin with. Obviously, you're going to have some of that. But it almost seems like we've just thrown everything away. We've even got revisionist history. We're even rewriting everything I was taught.
Yeah.
It's a different world, and obviously we could go on for a long time. Thank you for taking the time. I was excited when you contacted us and you reached out. You were actually the only one that actually directly contacted us, because obviously Dee was brought by Kim. One thing that's interesting is that Dee did not know when she showed up here why she was here. And I'm going to be interested to find out what the cover story was. But when I said, okay, well, let's get this started, she said, what are we doing? And so anyway, she may have a strong talk with her daughter, Kim. I know that just experiencing the few minutes I saw of you guys reminiscing, getting back together. I mean, it sounds like you've got a packed couple of days ahead of you.
Oh, I think so. Oh, we still have lots of stories we haven't touched on, so.
I probably don't want the camera running for some of them.
Maybe not.
Yeah, well, Martha, thank you again for being gracious and for gracing us with some of your recollections, and we look forward to the balance of the weekend. I think that this is something that's going to be bigger than we had imagined. I think that this is something that verges on a reality episode, experiencing vicariously or from a voyeur perspective almost, looking at these people coming together and enjoying that reunion. Very touching, lots of emotion there.
Well, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity and for putting it on video so that we can look at it again. And
well, we look forward to the balance of the weekend. You'll be at the breakfast in the morning?
Absolutely.
Okay, at the Women's Club. And then are you going to participate in the parade?
Well, I'm certainly going to cheer this one on as she rides in the float. I mean, on the car, in the car. I know Kim had hoped that we could do a float, but I guess there were a lot of us elderly women who were a little leery about getting up on the float. I personally would have gotten right up on there, but
well, you'd be surprised. Again, we document a lot of the homecoming parades, and we had Vernon's here just 2-3 weeks ago, and there were a couple of floats, and I wouldn't want to estimate the aggregate of age on that float, but there were some people that I would have probably
some vintage folks.
I would have definitely lent a hand getting up there, but they were enjoying themselves.
Oh, that's great.
So we'll see. Many times in that heat of the moment, they may accede to it, and we may end up pulling something out of the fire. But again, thank you for visiting. Do you get back often?
We get back to visit our friends who are here, Bob and Donna Dale, and my parents are buried here. So, there'll be a cemetery stop before we get out of town, but not as often as I would like. But, our life is centered in Blackshear, Georgia. We have our 2 sons are close there, and our grandchildren. That's a magnet. So, but it's always great to come back to your roots.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Here talking with a couple of the returning homecoming queens from Chipley High School. This year, the 64th annual reunion. Quite momentous, obviously, and something that we're going to have some fun with, probably more than what we had imagined going into this project. Hopefully you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, and we'll take the time to watch the rest of the video, certainly look at the photo galleries, and hopefully have as much fun with this as we are. We'll be right back.